preparing for today, I've been thinking of just some different dynamics as we've been reading through the book of John. You've been there a few weeks already. I know you're going to be continuing on for a few weeks. But you remember, John is speaking a lot. His intention, remember, it's just the reminder before we continue. John wants you to understand that Jesus is God. Don't forget that. Jesus is not just another guy walking among us. Jesus is not just a guy that could do awesome magic tricks and make things happen, and poof, somebody can walk or do these miraculous things. Jesus is not even just another guy that's just really, really nice to people that others are not nice to. Jesus is God. He is the God. He's not a God, he is the God. And John wants you to understand that, but the beauty of John is he's going to use a lot of symbolism and a lot of these different dynamics from different perspectives to get you to understand that. So you really see Jesus' character. You see his personality. You're not just going to hear stories about Jesus. He wants you to get to know Jesus face to face. I know that's what you talked about last week. Just a little bit. You kind of ushered in what we're going to continue tonight. There were many that didn't receive Jesus. As Jesus entered from place to place and he was preaching and as he's going to these various cities and moving from here to there, a lot of times he'd reach a place and there would be people that had understood or heard that there's going to be a Messiah coming, but they doubted that this was he. That this one really was it. And in that doubt, Jesus was often not received. I've been here enough. I feel comfortable. That's a good sign to me. The way that you worship, I'm glad for our praise team. Thank you for leading us. But you know the really beautiful thing about when worship is what it intends, when we are in a church where we are worshiping, it's like the praise team, I don't notice them anymore. Because I'm just so engaged in the worship, right alongside you, and we're worshiping, and they just kind of fade in the background, and lights and all the other stuff just kind of fades, and this just becomes all about Jesus. And when we can do that and do that comfortably, when I'm comfortable in that, my life kind of becomes an open book. And I'm okay with that because my life is a living testimony of many things that God has done. And I've been through a lot of garbage in my life. I'm sure many of you have your stories, of different things that you've dealt with. Some that God has brought you through, some that God is bringing you through. And I got news for you. You probably have a few things coming up that are going to be big, and you're going to need God to carry you through them. I remember when I was running track in high school, we were just about to have our physicals and begin the track season, and I needed to turn in my physical, and I needed a birth certificate. So I went in the file and pulled out of the file, there's paperwork. Nathan Salo, that's my brother. Well, wait. There's only two of us. I have one brother, but there's 3 birth certificates. Who in the world is Kimberly? And I'm looking, and I'm just absolutely floored. If you can imagine being in high school and reading someone else's name on a birth certificate right there next to yours and your brother's, I was floored. I'll be honest, I was furious. I had a sister. Didn't know that I had a sister, and I'll give you the shorter version. I told my parents, and they figured it out, and I exploded. My dad had actually been in ministry my entire life. I was just blown away. My dad had been married in college. My dad attended at Olivet. My dad graduated from Nazarene Bible College. And my dad had a daughter. And he had been previously married. And I found that out. Now, I was furious with them, and now years later, I've grown up. I'm in high school. This is not the time to be finding that out. My parents knew that. They were smart enough to know this kid can't handle it, and I couldn't. My fault. I messed up their plan, and honestly, their plan was a lot better than the one that I ended up making happen. And come to find out, he had to give up all of his parental rights when she was about 1. I had a sister. So with this, then it was like, okay, it's out in the open. We openly discussed it, and then they asked us. They asked my brother and I, are you interested? I would like to know who my daughter is. Are you okay with that? Are you interested? Yeah. I mean, we got over the anger. I did. I don't think my brother was experiencing it. But I got past the anger. I'm like, yeah, I'm interested. I got to meet her. And I got to tell you, I got so excited because I have a sister, and she's a little bit older than my older brother. And it was just so exciting to get to know her, and it's just like this new family member, and I have this sibling, and this is awesome, and I got a chance to. She had just been married just a couple years before we met her, so I placed my order, and I mean I'm broke when I'm in high school, so I give her a bunch of money, and I got wedding pictures from her wedding. I'm excited. We get into her house in Illinois, and we get to spend the weekend with her. I have a sister. This is awesome. But a couple years down the road, my sister didn't realize what being a pastor looked like. She didn't realize that her dad, who she now met by her birth father, didn't have a huge inheritance. He didn't have a lot that he was going to be able to pass on to her. He didn't have anything to give her that he was going to be able to make up for 30 years of lost life with her. So she walked. She disconnected. She cut us off. She cut us out. She wanted nothing to do with us because there was not an inheritance. If you look at John as we read tonight, we're going to be continuing in John chapter 1. There's this understanding with our relationship that we have with Jesus, that we have with God, because Jesus is God. This understanding that we have an inheritance. It's going to look like that dynamic with God, our Father. We understand God the Father and His Son, Jesus Christ. And I'm about to say some things that I think if you don't read these scriptures well and you don't know them well and hear God's heart and His intent for you, I might sound crazy, okay? I'm going to warn you in that in advance. But if you look at verse 12, we have it right here before us. We only have 2 short verses that we're going to be looking at here. Look at verse 12. We have just a little bit before. Okay, so that's my title, but so in this passage, it reads this way: to all who have received. There we go. But to all who did receive Him, who believe in His name, He gave the right to become children of God. We're going to come back to that a couple times, so hold that slide handy. If you're reading in your Bible, keep that tucked away there. If you're on your phone, hop off Facebook, jump over to John chapter 1. But to all who receive Him. See, what was happening is as Jesus entered these places, He would not necessarily be received. Now, I want to give you some clarification of what does this mean then to be received? What was this receiving looked like? This is the kind of receiving where He would be received with favor. Think of different things that you receive and it's minimal at best. There's moments when we receive and it doesn't get a lot of attention. It's not necessarily anticipation. It's not necessarily looked favorable, but you receive. You receive your bills in the mail. You receive a notice. You receive a phone call. You receive visitors that come to your house. This is a different kind of welcome, though. This is not the kind of welcome that just sits on a mat and someone knocks on your door and the welcome mat says, welcome. I mean, don't you just feel the love from that person? When you knock on a stranger's door and it says, welcome, I mean, do you approach their porch and say, wow, they're really nice people. They're so welcoming because the porch says so, right? That's not it. That's not welcome. So this is going to be a different kind of welcome. This is going to be the kind of welcome where they can't wait for Him to arrive. This is going to be the kind of welcome where it's anticipated. So my wife was gone for a week. She went to Washington, D.C. with my daughter on their school trip, and my daughter's a sophomore, so they left on Monday, really early on Monday, and she just got back really late last night, like about 11:30. And it's like an all day yesterday. I haven't seen my wife in a week. Now, day one, I told her, I was honest with her up front. I said, day one, I'll be celebrating your departure, and I'll be celebrating my time by myself. By day two, it's going to start to kick in. It's going to change over a little. And by day five, I'm going to be missing you. Well, it happened about day three. I start missing her. And by day four, for sure, by day five. I mean, when Friday comes, I'm out of work a little bit early. I'm like, I can't wait to get home. And I'm like, I got to have this clean. I mean, I cleaned everything in the whole house. My disaster mess. It was a whirlwind just going through, getting everything perfect. And it's like, it's 9 o'clock. They're still not here. It's 10 o'clock. They're still not here. Oh, it's going to be like another hour. I ended up going and sitting and waiting in the parking lot for a little while. Just stop at Meijer, grab some milk, be close to the school where she's going to be there. I just can't wait. I'm anticipating the arrival. I can't wait to pick her up. Her vehicle is still at the school. She already had her vehicle there. I was like, just get it tomorrow. I want to pick you up. I want to drive you home. I want us to be together. I can't wait. That's the kind of anticipation. Now, they had not received Jesus that way. But what John is saying is, to all who receive him, for all of you who anticipate him, for all of you who just can't wait, for all of you, you have to see him, you have to meet him, and you want to get to know him, and you're just dying to get to know Jesus and see Jesus and welcome Jesus. To all of you who receive him. Part two. To those of you who believe in his name. Now understand, this is not the name which he's called. That's not the understanding here. Coincidentally, tomorrow we're going to be looking at the name of Jesus at our church. And we're going to talk about, what does it mean to be that name? What does your name mean? You don't have to answer, but does anybody know? Anybody know what your name means? You know what yours means? Anybody else know? You know? I have no idea. Where does that come from? I believe I was named after the doctor told my parents that they couldn't release me from the hospital until they came up with a name. I swear my parents just threw a dart at a board and came up with Scott. What a dumb name. I don't like my name. Names have meaning? I don't know. They don't like they did in the Old Testament. I think maybe people are just making them up. I believe my name, Scott, means strong warrior. And humble servant. I don't know. We can put them all together. It means everything that I want to be. I don't know. But I know this. The name of Jesus has so many meanings to it. And we know this because God instructed that his name will be Jesus. Because God is the one who defined what Jesus would be. Here's what. I want you to name him Jesus because I'm God. I write the dictionary. So I am going to determine what this name means. So that whenever anybody says the name Jesus, this is what they mean. So he defines all of that. So it was those who call upon his name, but this is not the name of you go by Scott, or you go by Lynette, or you go by Bill, and you go by Sue. No. It's not that name. It occurs 3 times, chapter 1, chapter 2. You're going to see it again in chapter 3 when you guys get there. But this is 3 times in here. And this one is this name, this understanding, recognizing that this name, this calling, this person, this one is the Word. Remember we talked about the Word a couple weeks ago. This Jesus is the Word. This Jesus is salvation. His name means salvation. His name means life. His name means light. So whenever you say the name Jesus, by definition of who his name is, you are saying he is the light. We recognize he is our means to salvation. He is our means to receive the Word. And that word is, well, in the Hebrew, that word is going to be the revelation of God. That word is going to be what God is trying to speak to you. He has a messenger. And that messenger was the Word. I'm going to speak to you in this way through Jesus. So there's 2 qualifiers in here. To all those who receive him, And to those that would recognize, that would take note of and recognize and see and know and proclaim this name, Jesus, this person, he is God. He is the Word. He is life. He is salvation. With those two qualifiers, to those who believe in his name, now we see the really good part. To those is the right to become God's children. You receive the right to become one of God's children. And understand, so what does it mean to become one of his children? Well, what it means is we become an heir to his throne. It means that everything that he has intended, it's just banked up, it's waiting, it's stored up. And this is not sitting in a trust. This is not tucked away in a safe where you're not going to have access to it. He has this perfect package here, now, ready, absolutely perfectly for us already. He has all of this, all those things that my sister was looking for, and she was not going to find because it wasn't there. Everything you can imagine, though, Jesus already has that in store for you. The Father has that in store for you in such the way that he did for his Son, Jesus. God already has packaged up for you that as one of his children, he's going to just circle his arms around you and care for you and love you like a mom would. He's going to nurture you. He already has in store for you that just as a dad would, Dad, I hope you can resonate this, that you want to protect, right? Not that nurturing version. We want that protection version. That strong, we'll take the brunt of it for our kids, for our family version. I hope we take that stand. I hope, dads, that's who we want to be in our families. God already has strength and power available and waiting to protect you. That's in store for you. And when you receive him, when you call on his name, you're going to receive that. I mean, this is just the beginning of what is in store for you. He has hope. He has peace. He has patience. I mean, we could talk about any one of the fruits of the Spirit that we read in Galatians. And he has everything you could ever imagine perfectly in store for you. And it's ready if you will receive him. And if you will call on his name, if you will understand that he's the source for this, understand who this Jesus is, he has that in store for you. And when we read this, this is not just, this is a different kind of child of God. This is a different kind of child as we know it in our parenting or in our culture. This even goes one step further than what we even comprehend. This is legitimate title. This is the equivalent of birth order. If you look back to the Old Testament, birth order meant a lot. Who's the oldest and who's going to receive the birthright? Jacob and Esau are a perfect example of fighting over who gets what, all right? I just was working with a family recently this past week, actually, and one daughter, granddaughter is going to be receiving this, and one granddaughter is going to be receiving that. And I'll tell you what, the playing field, or the value, we'll call it, or these things that they're going to receive in the inheritance are about this level. It doesn't seem fair, does it? No, this is not that kind of it's not that kind of relationship. It's not that kind of inheritance. This is all of it. You receive all of it, and you receive all of it, and you receive all of it, and every one of us become heirs to this. In fact, we become co-heirs in this. Receiving, he has available to us. You ready for this? I'm about to sound crazy. We become co-heirs with Jesus. See, when you are a co-heir, I am co-heir to what we will receive when I lose my mother. She's broke as I am, so there's not much to receive. We already know that. We could laugh about it. But we're co-heirs. And see, every one of us are all co-heirs. We're all equally going to share in what God has available for us as his children. And guess who one of our co-heirs is? Now, co-heirs is not, one heir down there and me up here, or me down there and somebody else up there. So, this, it's not this, it's this. Co-heirs with Jesus. I don't want to sound crazy here, but do you realize that God the Father has in store for you everything that he has intended of his kingdom for his Son? Do you realize Jesus is going to meet with us on this level? Jesus isn't going to look down on you and rule over you when we see him again in eternity. He's going to be right there alongside us. We become co-heirs as children. We inherit all of this. I went through divorce, like I said. I become an open book. I went through divorce 7-8 years ago, and we've been remarried. My wife Lynette there, we've been married for 6 years, and what I received with my second marriage is I have a daughter. I do not have a stepdaughter. I don't see it that way. I really confuse people because whenever people ask, how old are your kids? I have a 21-year-old. She 21? She's 21. Yeah, I have a 21-year-old. I can't even know. I don't know how old I am, okay? So I'm not a bad parent. I don't even know how old I am. I have to check with my wife on that one too. But I have a 21-year-old, and then I have a 15-year-old and a 15-year-old. Oh, are they twins? Everybody always says that. No, I have a 15-year-old son, and then I have a 15-year-old stepdaughter. No, I have a 15-year-old daughter. There's no distinction to me. I see her as I see my children. There is no my children, her children. They're my children. She's my daughter. I see her that way. God doesn't set you aside because your past looks like this, so you're his stepchild. Or you have, whoa, did you really have a dark past? So you're over here. No, it's not like that. God has in store for us full membership into his family, adopted into his family so that there is no step, there is no lesser or greater. It's all of us owning legitimate title to what we become heirs to that he has in store for us. To those who receive him, to those who believe in him. It's the right to become God's children. And one more qualifier with this is to understand that is found in the last portion of this verse. To be born of God. See, this is where it gets set aside, where we distinguish in here that that this new relationship, this is going to be a God thing. This is not born of men. This is not a choice. This is not I choose to have 6 kids or hey, babe, would you like to have another baby? No, definitely not. This is not choosing to adopt. This is not choosing to foster children and take them in. This is not choosing to just be, aunt someone to the neighbor kid and you just kind of take them in and you just kind of adopt them as your own. I never had many of those. I can't think of like a family member, an Aunt Sue or a Grandma so-and-so. I never had any outside of my actual family that was my grandma. That's not this. This is the kind of decision. This is the kind of birth where God decides. God has chosen to invite you, to welcome you into his family, to receive you as one of his children and call you his child. This is him adopting you, but throwing out adoption papers, and he doesn't even remember that it was an adoption. He takes it very back to your very first birth that you had here on this earth. In fact, he even goes before that. When he receives you as one of his children, he goes back. Remember, we talked about this gets a little crazy because it's God. There was no beginning on that. God already knew who you were and decided he was going to adopt you as one of his children before you were ever even born on this earth. That's the kind of adoption he had in store, anticipating, waiting for you to choose, waiting for you to receive, waiting for you to recognize and call on his name so that he could begin to receive you as one of his children. And he already knew that before you were born. Now, he didn't make the decision for you. It doesn't say, for all of those who I make receive me. It doesn't say, to anybody who I make believe in me. That's our choice. We're just saying, I choose Jesus. We're saying that. This is us entering in with this gift of invitation to his family. It's not human work. You're not going to work yourself into this. You're not going to make a choice into this. It's going to be God's gift where only he can make this happen. I don't know if you catch the gravity of that. I like loud worship. I don't apologize. I'm half deaf. I'm deaf in this ear from shooting guns back in college days. So I only hear about 10% out of this ear. Ironically, my wife always sits on this side. Everywhere we go, she always sits on this side, and then I claim I can't hear her. Sometimes it works, sometimes not a good plan. But I love loud worship. I turn it as loud as I possibly can in my vehicle. There's moments where I've been preparing on a Sunday and in the churches that I've pastored, I'll go into sanctuary and turn it louder than any sound guy would ever probably recommend turning it. There's times when I've been in worship, actually in the worship service, and went and stood or sat right in front of one of the monitors. So it's just like right there in my face. Those are just kind of representative, though, of volume. It's an excitement. I hope that when you receive him, when you call on his name and recognize who this Jesus is, I hope that just makes you so stinking excited that you are ready for heaven to just erupt. Not just volume, it's not just about that, but we get excited about so many things, and we are happy about so many things. I can't imagine how excited Pastor Caleb is. He's got a baby. Do you get that? Have you ever seen a baby enter into the world for that first moment? Oh my goodness. Describe it for me. Describe for me how much you love that kid. You can't. You can't even begin to describe. Imagine what it looks like. I can't even begin to describe for you what it looked like when my wife walked around the corner at the back of the sanctuary before she walked down the aisle. I hadn't seen her before in this dress. I didn't love her dress, but she looked amazing. Forget the dress. She just had this glow. I cannot describe what that was like. And I just wanted to scream. Michigan State won yesterday. I am not a Michigan State fan. Is anybody in here a Michigan State fan? They won their next one. They had the Elite Eight. Anybody in here Michigan fans? Ooh, ouch. Sorry about that. They're not making it. We scream for our teams at the top of our lungs. We get excited about so much, but do we get that excited? Are we embracing? Do we welcome? Do we chase after? Do we want to shout the name Jesus like we sang? Do we want to shout it from the rooftops? I'm one of his children. When we receive him, when we call on his name, do we want to shout that to the rooftops? I'm one of his. And I'm not going to hold back in proclaiming that. We're going to sing here in just a moment. The praise team's coming, and we're just going to close with one song. I'm not going to do some lengthy altar call kind of thing, but I know this. He absolutely deserves it. And I don't know where we're all at. We're all, in a little different position, in our spiritual life. You may be in a spot where you've never actually received, where you've never actually made the decision to say to him, I receive. I want to, with favor. I am anticipating. I can't wait for meeting you and knowing you and having time with you and being intimate with you and having so much relationship with Jesus. I receive you. Maybe this is a time where, as we're singing, you can receive him. Or possibly you've never really fully understood what that name Jesus means. Who is he to you? Is he just another guy? Is he a good Bible story character? And you've never actually recognized that this is God here with me. That he's walking along right in the midst of us. He's sitting in the seat next to you, or he's here. Do you recognize that Jesus is making his presence known here in this place, in your life? And I welcome you. If you do those things, maybe you have already, that would be great. I'm celebrating. Let's celebrate together. We are going to inherit everything that he has in store for us. We are going to be children of God. I did a funeral on Thursday, and someone came in, didn't give me a time of day, and then said, wait, I saw your name. Are you related to Jim Salo? That's my dad. And my dad was very well known at that funeral home. And all of a sudden, I became somebody. Guess what? Jesus is so much better and so much bigger than my dad. You get the name Jesus. Your last name bears with it, Christ follower. Your last name is God's children. Can we celebrate that tonight? So I'm going to ask you to stand, if you will, and they're going to lead us as we sing. These altars are here for a reason. I don't know what it looks like, how you guys usually do this. I know how I'm used to doing it. Sometimes it makes a big statement when I step out of where I've been or where I'm at, and I need to kneel at an altar, or kneel in the front row, or kneel at your seat, or sometimes I go to the back all by myself, and I'm in my own little worship world. I would encourage you got to get in the best spot, best posture you can to speak to him and tell him, I receive you and I believe in you and I want to be one of your children. You got to be in the best spot you can to hear from him. And maybe that means you just need to be quiet for a minute and listen to what he has to say.